Hello, welcome to Brap Life. My name's Angel. This week's episode is with Logan Kittock. He's a rider and racer out of D23 in Minnesota, and he's got a little bit of an interesting story. So, when I met him, he was traveling around the country and he was doing races all over. But I knew of his reputation back in Minnesota because one of my friends trained with him. So, it was really cool to sit down and get to talk with him and kind of hear about how his life is settling down a little bit. But it's never a bad thing, just a little bit different. So I hope you guys really like this episode, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Welcome to Brap Life. I appreciate the fact that you took time out of your schedule to come in here because we've been trying to do this for a couple months now. Um, and you're super busy all the time. So, um,
Thanks for having me.
would you, yeah, of course. Would you like to introduce yourself and kind of say a little bit about who you are, what you race, and all that?
My name's Logan Kittock, local racer here from Minnesota. I race the Hare Scramble Enduro Series, and yeah, I spent many years racing nationals, and we're settling down now and staying home. So not so much going on anymore.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you did
Mhm.
some really cool stuff. I've been watching your career for a couple years, and so it's kind of cool to see all the stuff that you've done, but it's also cool to see you be a family guy too. So,
Mhm.
um, with that, how did you get started in riding in general?
Uh, Throw it back to about 3 years old, so that'd be 22 years ago. I got a PW50 and rode around in the yard for a little bit. Grandpa and Grandma made me a little loop at their house, which was a woods loop. So that's kind of how we got started in that direction. Raced motocross, like fair races, stuff like that. So not actual like District 23 motocross. And then gave our hand at a hair scramble in 2009 and never looked back from there. So kind of led us to where we're at today. Uh, yeah.
So, what made you decide to do that hair scramble?
I think it was I don't even know what caused us to do the hair scramble. Maybe it was recommended to us from somebody.
Mhm,
Uh, Grandparents had a woods loop, so maybe that was what kind of set it off to go try a woods race. But
mhm.
um, an official answer, I couldn't give you one. But I believe my parents kind of asked us, "What do you guys think about that hair scramble that we just did?" And we all liked it. We all had fun, and so in 2010 we decided to do the full District 23 hair scramble enduro series. So.
That's awesome. And how did
Mhm.
that year go for you?
I would have been in the Pee Wee class, which is 65s, and I was third in the end of the season behind Colin Maynard and Colton Reschke. So,
So you did pretty good right away.
yeah, decent.
That's good. And what was your progression like from there?
Uh, the following year I was on an 85, and I did, I think, one race in the 85 class, and then I went and raced 200C on the 85 for following year and a couple more events. And then I was stuck kind of racing that those same three guys. I was always behind them. And then same thing happened in B class. Those same guys, they were on 125s. I ended up getting a 125 that following season for B class.
Mhm,
And then never really made too much progression until I went to A class. Um, Took the jump. We got our suspension done on the bike for the first time and ran 200A, and we did fairly well. I got the championship in enduro and hair scramble. Had some pretty good overall finishes,
mhm,
and went to double A. It was about mid-season at Brookston that year.
mhm.
Um, Spent a year and a half in double A before I got my first two championships, and then I started taking it seriously. So.
So what changed in your program when you started to take it more serious? Was it like, were you starting to train like off the bike? Were you changing nutrition? Like, what did that look like? Or was it just more time on the bike?
Uh, I always had plenty of time on the bike. What really changed was I Met a guy named Jonathan Jensen. He owns
Mhm,
CrossFit 585 in Apple Valley.
mhm,
And he came out and rode with us. I can't remember the connection on how he ended up coming out, but he's like, "Hey, why don't you come visit me at the gym?" And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, we were training full time, and he had me eating pretty good. He had training every single day.
mhm,
I always had plenty of time on the bike. My bikes
mhm.
were always worn out. Uh, so that's kind of what changed it, and
Mhm.
um, it changed it for anybody, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I found that when I started working out more, my riding improved a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when I started changing my nutrition, so for me personally, what worked was adding more protein into my diet. And,
Mm-hmm.
it helped my endurance in general. So I was able to go further distances, I was able to go harder, and I just thought that was really cool. So I always like to know kinda, like, what works for different people. We have a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are new to training or to nutrition. They're
Mm-hmm.
just starting to get interested in racing. So I always like to ask and kinda see what people are into, get a look at, like, what does race week look like? Like when you're heading into a big race, especially, being in Minnesota, you don't get to train all winter long like some people do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of hard. So leading up into the race, like the first race of the year, what does that look like for you?
Uh, I've always I've always done a good job while heading south training.
Mhm.
Uh, so this has probably been my slowest winter since about 2015. I've only ridden 3 times this winter.
Oh, wow.
Uh, normally I'd be on the bike every weekend, whether it was the indoor arena,
Mhm.
um, weekend practices, or like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night practice. Um, you know, usually try to do those once a week in the past, and then I was normally down in Oklahoma a bunch with buddies, and just
Mhm.
always found a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of what my winter riding kind of looked like. But most of the time, I was in the gym every day in the winter time as well. Slacking this year, but that's all right. So
Yeah. So, what bike do you run now?
I'm on a Triumph this year. Triumph 250.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's great.
So
How did that deal come about?
uh, I don't officially know how. The guys at Red River reached out to me and talked to me about running one. It was
Mhm,
kind of in discussion for a couple months, and then it was kind of tail end of the year, November,
mhm.
December, and we finally got everything finalized, and um, they got me a demo bike to ride, and it's been excellent. So I really look forward to racing it this year.
That's really cool. What do you see as a difference so far, at least, in your limited time on the bike? What's the biggest difference, or what do you like about it?
Uh, I think a big jump was going back to the four stroke from the
Mhm,
two short previous 2 years I was on the Riehu 250.
mhm,
Uh, so that's kind of a big jump there. And we just got it set up perfect right away. And normally I struggle with bike setup. It normally takes, 6, 7, 8 suspension setups, and we got it dialed. This one was like right
wow.
off the bat. I was happy with it, and swapped the rear sprocket to a larger tooth, and it's ready to go. So it was easy. I think it's
That's
just
nice.
it's all around good bike, so that makes it real easy to work with.
That's good. And you're all ready, like, mentally, are you all ready for the season to start?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm always ready. So
When is the first race?
first race will be the Appleton Border Battle, and I believe last
Oh,
weekend of
that's
April or first weekend of May.
okay. So that's
So
coming up pretty quick.
yep, I'll just be racing locals in the Border Battle series this year. So keeping it easy.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Yep.
Um, well, of all of the races that you have done across the country, what was your favorite venue to go to?
Oh, in 2019, I did majority of the GNCCs.
Mhm,
Uh, I had a blast at Snowshoe that year. snowshoe GNCC, and
Mhm.
I think it's just everything just clicked that day. Um, we had a stressful Saturday. Got out there and bike would not run well at all, just because of the jetting changes that were
Yeah.
required for the elevation.
Mhm.
Uh, Late Saturday night phone call with guys at Fine Tune. Got that set up. We made some suspension adjustments, and
Mhm.
everything just worked well Sunday. I mean, when things go smooth, you just always have fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and we put down a pretty good lead that next day, and so that goes down in the books as probably one of the most successful days and probably one of the most fun days racing.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, is there anywhere that you haven't been yet that you do wanna go ride?
Anywhere west,
Oh, yeah?
like anywhere west, desert races, um, like race like I think my brother and we've been talking about Min 400, Vegas, Reno. I've never had the bike to go
Yeah.
out and do it. Um,
Yeah.
so we're kind of waiting for the day until I get that all set up and we can go do one of those. But I rode that Texas National Enduro they had. I can't
Mhm.
remember, Turkey, Texas. That was a really cool event. Conditions weren't very good. It was very dusty, uh, but it was just a cool race. You know, something I've never
Yeah.
seen before, nothing I've ever raced, and when you get exposed to something new, it's always fun.
Especially in a race setting, like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine. I went from East Coast to West Coast just a couple months ago, and,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's completely different riding, and
Oh yeah.
it's taken me a little bit to get used to it, so I can't imagine, especially at your pace, like, going into that kinda blind and just, like, having to figure it out on the go. That's really a
Yeah,
testament to, like,
the
your
most
skill.
difficult part was actually paying attention to the trail and not looking at the scenery there. You
I
come
could
across a
definitely see
hill and
that.
you could just see for miles, and it's like you want to look, but at the same time you're racing.
I kinda get that. I was in Utah this last weekend when we got up onto a mesa, and I was struggling, it was very scary for me. But when we got up top, I really wanted to look out because I knew we were really high and I knew it was gonna be really pretty, but I was at the same time, I was like, "For my skill level, I can't do that and not, like, move my bike a little bit," and we're right on the edge, so I was like, "I just gotta stay
Hmm.
s looking straight."
Hmm. I'm sure it's similar scenery, but yeah, if I could
Yeah.
go west, do a race here in the next couple of years, that's kind of on the bucket list now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I'm sure it'll happen. I mean, you've got the skill and, you've got backing, so I'm sure you guys will figure it out and you'll get out here for one of the races. That'll be
Yeah,
cool.
might have to talk to the guys
Um,
at Red River and get a 450 to use.
yeah, there you go. Well, what about in the entire world? If you could go anywhere in the world and it was completely paid for, where would you go?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I could put a location on it. Um,
Yeah.
there's so many cool races in Europe. I'm sure
Mhm.
there's cool races everywhere. ISD every year looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So I mean, anywhere new, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a tough one to answer.
Well, usually this is a lot more geared towards hard enduro and like
Hmm.
so people are always like there's three main races that people will say and it's just so it's kind of different to like hear a different perspective sometimes. We don't
Hmm.
have a ton of people who aren't hard enduro, but
Yeah.
I like to hear what people say
Which
and
ones are
see
they
where
shooting for? Erzberg is probably
uh
one of them.
Erzberg.
Yeah.
Sea to Sky is actually the most popular one.
Hmm.
That one's out in Turkey. So,
Yep.
and that one is just absolutely epic. And I think almost every single person has said Sea to Sky or Erzberg. And then, of course, Romaniacs, because those are
Hmm.
like the really big ones. So,
Yeah. I've watched plenty of them. I've raced a couple. They were hard enduros to me, but like the Mad Moose in Michigan,
oh, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
that was a hard enduro on the series one year, I believe, and then
Hmm.
Rev Limiter I've done
Yep,
2 or 3 times
yep.
down there in northern Texas.
Hmm.
So
How did
always
you?
had the ambitions to get to TKO, but never did it.
how did you like the hard enduro versus what you normally do?
Uh, I will go ride extreme enduro and hard enduro, like out in the mountains. I'll go do that stuff any day, but I don't have any interest racing it now.
Yeah.
Uh, it was it was a unique experience, and I don't like being rushed through those obstacles. So the
I could
racing,
definitely see that.
it's incredible what those guys can do. Um,
Mhm.
and when people watch it online, it doesn't do any justice to what they're actually doing.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
so it's just it's impressive. You know, if I was to
Yeah.
go to TKO, I'd probably just watch, honestly. Or any extreme enduro, I'd just rather
Mhm.
watch them just because of how impressive it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I got to go to TKO this last year, and it was just so cool to see it in person because I've been watching it for several years, and so it was so cool because I was like, "I kinda know this, like, I remember watching this," like,
Hmm.
so, yeah, it was totally epic, but then everybody was here from Europe, and seeing those guys too on top of our pros and everybody
Hmm.
just fly through some of these sections was just absolutely insane.
Hmm. I remember we used to have a video of a hard enduro down in Texas. It was like on a movie, like an actual disc.
Mhm.
Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
So I remember watching that when I was younger, and that's kind of what got the interest started. And I raced a couple of them, but then I got started with racing GNCC, and now I'd rather watch those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very different kind of riding, but it's, I mean, I'm crazy because I wanna do that, but
Hmm.
everybody's a little bit different, and everybody's got a little bit of a different kinda crazy, so to ride dirt bikes in general, you have to be a little bit crazy because who wants to go and fall? We all fall in the beginning.
Hmm.
So, like, who wants to go fall all the time and then keep going, keep pushing? And then when you start to get into stuff like hard enduro, like, you're falling a lot more when you're learning.
Yep, that's right.
So it takes that crazy to the next level, but or as Cody Webb says, he's like, "Oh, maybe we're just dumb." And I was like, yeah, I mean, we could be, but"
I don't know if I would say that. Crazy is the term. I
Yeah, I
remember,
mean
yeah, I was at that rev limiter.
mhm,
I think Cody Webb won it the one year. I was in the afternoon race and I was sick,
mhm,
so I was really struggling. And the entire A class, we were on like the third or fourth signature obstacle,
mhm.
and I think it was like a 7 mile lap or 6 mile lap, and like our entire group, our entire line we started with was like picking our way through these obstacles. And so we were maybe a quarter of the way through the lap, and Cody Webb comes flying by us, lapping us already. I'm like, this is just unreal. And there's 35 guys stuck on this hill. I
Yeah,
was I was probably 17 or 18 at the time, and he just snakes his way right through everybody. And I was like, how are you even getting traction here? How do you balance your bike up this and jump that 6 foot ledge at the top with
yeah,
no run up? Like it's
yeah.
insane. It doesn't even seem real.
Yeah, there are some of the guys that I've ridden with, like, out west here, and it's insane. They're not even pro level. They could be, in my opinion. But they're insane. They're doing stuff like that, and it's just like, what what? Like, where does
Mm-hmm.
that come from? But then at the same time, like, it's time on the bike and it's really dedicating yourself to improvement and all of that because
Mm-hmm.
I look at the stuff that I'm doing now and 6 months ago, I wouldn't even have looked at 90% of what I've been doing in the last 2 months. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, the like, how much you can improve is really up to, like, how much you're dedicated to pushing yourself. So,
That's
like,
right.
I know that there's a limit eventually, but where those guys are at and where I'm at is, like, 2 hugely different things, and so I have, like,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of ways to go to get to where they're at. But they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly improving too. I mean, they're constantly pushing the envelope on what can be done, and they're doing some insane things, and it's a little scary to watch them sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of happening in honestly all racing right now. Everything's
Yeah.
getting further and further along.
hmm
New
Yeah,
bench.
it's amazing to see the progression as bikes, like, the technology for them gets better, everything can just get pushed to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I'd see that. I guess I don't know who would be your top guy. Tristan Hart in her enduro.
mhm, mhm,
I've heard great things about like his ability on the bike.
mhm,
Uh, you got Jet Lawrence going in the motocross and supercross right now.
mhm.
Kind of your I won't say top guy, but he looks like he's going to be for sure. Obviously, he
Yeah.
went undefeated.
Mhm,
And then Caleb Russell,
mhm.
uh, in off road, he just came back, but I mean he had 8 championships straight. That's just impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy what these guys, like, it's almost robotic. I mean, that's what they call Tristan, they call him the
Yeah,
robot, but
that's
it
the
it
word I've heard.
is.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's almost robotic, like, how they've gotten things down to, like, such a science to just be able to do it. I mean, look at the way Manny Lettenbichler goes through stuff. I mean, Manny and Tristan battled at TKO, but it was insane when he finally passed Tristan in the section that I was in, and he just flowed through everything so differently, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, that's
Hmm.
insane. Because I mean, I when Tristan goes by me, I'm just, like, floored usually, but then Manny going past him and, like, almost leaving him behind at that point, and I was like, "Oh my god, how do you even do that?" Like, it's
Hmm.
insane.
Yeah, it's impressive the lines that they can spot
Mhm.
like during the moment.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed, and what I always struggled with National Enduro and GNCC was the ability to, let's say, pick not I don't want to say pick your lines, but pick the best line and be able to pick it constantly as the race is changing and as it's going on. And I think it's everything to just with your surroundings, knowing your surroundings, and that
Mhm.
goes in all disciplines. Those top guys are just extremely good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I had a little class on line selection a couple weeks ago. My buddy
Hmm.
was like, he's like, "Don't always take the hardest line." And I was like, "Okay, to be fair, I thought that this is the easy line. I didn't realize that the rock was gonna move and I was gonna fall into a hole." So
Hmm.
I thought it was gonna be easy versus like going around and taking like a sharp right and coming back. I was like trying to go straight over just what looked like a couple little rocks. So
Hmm.
I was
Yeah, I
like, "Okay."
tell guys I work with all the time training here in Minnesota.
Mhm,
You know, let's say our trail ranges from 4 to 6 feet usually. Um,
mhm,
the established trail is going to be this wide. Our tires are this wide, but we have 4, 5, 6 feet to work with. If your
mhm,
tire's 2, 3 inches wide, there are plenty of areas you can go to find smooth lines.
mhm.
Uh, so I've been trying to help my guys find those smooth lines. So that's a big thing we always focus on.
Yeah, yeah. How did you get into the coaching?
Uh, Back in 2017 or 2018, it would have been my first year doing kind of some ride schools.
Mhm,
And I think Clayton Fine at Fine Tune, I think, is like, hey, let's do a school. You do a riding section where you work with guys and on their technique and stuff, and then he'll do like suspension school at the
mhm.
same time, and then we kind of flop them back and forth.
Yeah,
And we did that, and worked out real well, and kind of never stopped from there.
that's cool.
Hmm.
And how many people do you typically work with in a season?
It's a lot less now because I kind of changed the format. But
Mhm.
those first couple of years, I mean, it was probably 10 to 15 riding schools, and there was 10 per school. So worked with quite a few riders, and
Wow.
uh, the coming years, quite a few of them were repeats,
Mhm,
which is good, really good. Now we've kind of focused it. Last year we kind of did a spring boot camp, so it was March and April, and the guys come every Saturday and Sunday, and it's not
mhm,
so much focused on, let's say, like a ride school.
mhm.
It's more so kind of like what the guys experience at training facilities down south. We
Okay.
just don't have that set up around here, so we're doing motos, we're doing sprint laps, uh, we're doing different drills.
Mhm.
So I got that set up, and we're hoping to start this weekend.
Wow, is it that warm up there already?
It was, I think, 60 something yesterday. Today the high is mid 40s, and then it's supposed to be 50s or 60s through the end of the weekend. But we can get riding pretty early at my grandpa's place.
Uh-huh.
It's quite a bit of sand there, so we can usually start riding 3 weeks before anywhere else opens in Minnesota. So
Wow.
we're pretty fortunate with that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I didn't realize it
Mm.
had been that warm up there.
Yeah. Uh, it really hasn't been that warm. We've had a couple nice days, but we usually jump the gun early. There's normally some ice out there and mud, and but I tell the guys, I was just getting made fun of this past weekend by Brody O'Connor. He's like, "What do you think it's gonna be like?" Oh, I just said, "Oh, it's gonna be good." He says, "Is it gonna be good or is it gonna be rideable?" And I was like, "Everything's good." So they usually question me on whether or not it's actually good, but I always tell them it's good.
It's always
So,
good. I mean, if you get any time on the bike, it doesn't matter if you're falling over, if you're covered in mud. I remember a couple of those Tileman weekends where it was just we were completely drenched and cold,
mhm,
and it's still fun because you're out on your bike.
that's right. Yeah, I remember a day last year. We I think it was end of March. We got 3, 4, 5 inches of snow, like just out of the blue, and I was like, "Yeah, we're still training." And so I think like half the guys showed up, and we did a bunch of sprint laps in the mud, which was really good. And then we went to do I think a 40-minute moto or a 30-minute moto, and I came around on the second lap, and like three of the four guys were stuck on a hill, all in different ruts. I was like, "All right, it might not be good today, but I still told them it was good." See, sometimes you just got to tell them it's good so they show up. You
It's a
know,
mindset thing, right?
that's right.
I think you really
Definitely.
have to keep a strong mindset in times like that. Like, I went to a race in North Dakota, and I had been training because it was like I knew there was gonna be a lot of logs, and so I was super focused on logs, and I didn't factor in weather. I didn't think about it. Like, I never really had much issue with weather when I lived in North Dakota, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden I got there and it poured throughout the entire night, and that part of North Dakota is clay, so it was super slick, and
Hmm.
I had not mentally prepared for that at all, so it just completely threw me off, and I like, now I'm thinking about, like, I'm doing a race next month in North Carolina, and that is also clay. And so if it rains, which with my luck it will, it's gonna be a disaster. But
What race in North Dakota did you go to?
the Schmedium Enduro, the Legends Schmedium Enduro,
Yep. All of North Dakota events are a lot of fun. You wouldn't think they have cool terrain up there, but all their races are held on
some
pretty
really
cool
cool.
areas.
Yeah,
Yep.
they found some cool spots and they set it up real well. So,
Yeah, I've been to I think three of their events,
mhm.
and yeah, I had fun at all of them. Just a long drive.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, because I was living in Minot, North Dakota, and I was driving out to Akeley in
Hmm.
Minnesota to ride, and that alone was like 7 hours. So,
Hmm.
and I was doing that like almost every weekend for a while.
Oh
It was
boy.
rough.
Hmm.
But now I like last year I was traveling to races because I was like just going to the hard enduros, and some of them were 8, 9 hours, some of them were 12 hours, like, so driving, like, 7 hours is kinda like an average now.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Like,
was talking to somebody on our way home from Oklahoma this past weekend,
mhm,
and he's like, "Oh, how far you got left?" And I think it was like 7.5, 8 hours. And
yeah.
he's like, "Oh," I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, that would be so long and so boring." I was like, "It's normal, you know. I'm used to it
Yeah.
now."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes well, you've been all over the country like me, and last year when I went to that North Dakota race, I was actually living in Tennessee. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to drive from Tennessee to northern North Dakota, and it was a 24-hour drive. I did the
Mm-hmm.
race, and then like so I got there at night, I slept, did the race, and then after the race, like within an hour, I was packed up and headed back home because I had to get home for work. So
That's a long drive up there for that.
yes, yes, it was. But I had been living in North Dakota, and I have been like kind of involved with promoting that race.
Yep.
So like I felt like I had to be there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was also just an excuse to travel. So
Oh yeah,
and
I
I
did
I
that
wanted to
race
try
2 years
something
ago.
different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time. I this year, like I said, I'll be going to North Carolina for a race. That'll probably be my longest drive for a race, but I'm staying for longer than 1 day, so
What race you
it'll
going
make it
to?
worth it. Battle of the Goats. It's one of the hard
Mm-hmm.
enduros. It's the first one in the East Coast series.
Yep.
So,
They hold that probably, I guess, I don't know where, but right outside of Asheville. Does that sound
yeah,
right? In those mountains?
so it's in Taylorsville. Yeah, it's not too far, but yeah, Brushy Mountain.
Yep.
Yeah. I rode out there a lot in the last, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago. Um, and I really love it out there. It's really challenging, but it's a lot of fun, and I feel comfortable with East Coast riding versus like West Coast. So everything West Coast is like super exposure and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of rocks. And I don't mind rocks, but the exposure is what's getting me and really messing with my head. So like a little bit of exposure in Brushy Mountain, but there's so many trees that it like kind of makes you feel protected. I don't know. It's definitely a mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get over it. I've been going to California, I just went to Utah, and I'm really pushing myself on those exposure situations so I can just get over that fear and just trust my skills and just be able to do what I need to do on the bike. So,
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
yeah.
How
I'm
far is
I'm
the drive
pushing
for you?
for North
To the,
Carolina.
yep.
Uh, I think it's 37 hours from here.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. It's quite
That's
a
a trip.
drive. I haven't found anybody who wants to drive it with me, so I'm gonna be doing it solo again. So,
Yeah. That would be a tough one.
yeah, a lot of people are like, no. I'm like, dude, I will take your bike for you. I will pay for you to race the race. Like, just come with me. And they're like, no, I'm not doing
Mm-hmm.
it. Dang it.
The drive out there is not so bad. It's the drive home.
Yeah, that's what's gonna suck. I've given myself like 2 days after the race to get back because I know I can drive it probably straight through, but after doing the race, I'm probably gonna be really beat up. So giving
Mm-hmm.
myself some time to just crawl back and then be able to work after getting some rest. So
Yep. That's probably a good plan.
yeah, but it'll be really fun, but trying to get into hard enduro with the limited seat time that I have, it's kind of crazy, like I said, but um it's what I've wanted to do for a really long time. So I really had to change my mindset and really not let any kind of negativity in at all. I changed who I was riding with. I changed where I was living, obviously. And
Mm-hmm.
I've even changed how I approach things. And when I get to an obstacle and I'm nervous about it or I'm not 100% sure I have the skill to do it, I don't say what's the worst that could happen like everybody else does. I now say what's the best that could happen because that split second on the trail of envisioning myself falling down the cliff or not making it up the obstacle, like that makes a difference, especially when you're approaching it and you're, not stopping. Um, it makes a huge difference for me, and I've been able to
Mm-hmm.
get over most obstacles and through most things, um, so far since I changed that little bit even.
Mindset plays a huge role in everything.
Yeah. How do you, like, get prepared mindset-wise for a race? Like, is there any tips that you have for getting ready for that?
Uh, not I don't have too many tips for it, because I'm not really like the motivational speaker type.
No, but
Uh, but what I can say is what's helped my mindset is going into events knowing that I've done what was necessary to be prepared.
mhm,
And so whether that's like the consistent diet leading up, you're hydrating, you've been working out, you've been riding,
mhm,
I think that's what's kind of helped me just locally here the past few
mhm,
years is I knew I was doing more than anybody else.
mhm,
So that, I mean, that plays a huge role there. If you know you're doing more than everybody else,
mhm.
you know where you should be.
Yeah.
So you have to build that mindset and build that confidence through actually putting in the work and having the discipline,
Mhm.
doing the things that are not fun. Um,
Yeah.
like trying when I try to get guys to go out, hey, let's go do a 30 or let's go do a 40 or an hour moto or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
guys are like, oh, that's hard or it's hot out. And it's just like, just do it and you'll be thankful after, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's what builds that mindset. Um, Entering a race knowing that you can accomplish something is you've put in the work, you've done this, this works,
Mhm.
and just kind of stick to that.
I like
But
that.
I'm not so much on being the kind of person that says, oh, I know I can do this. But then in the back
Mhm.
of your head, you're like, well, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Just I'm just put in the work and then, the mindset will follow.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I definitely I definitely feel like that does separate a lot of people, like,
Hmm.
knowing that you put in that work, because there are people who are like, "Oh, I just go out and I race," and that's great, and a lot of them do really well, but
Hmm.
again, it kind of for me personally, like, I wouldn't be able to just go do that because, like, I'm not trying to win. I don't have any delusions of grandeur like that. I just wanna make it. Like, for this first hard enduro, I've never done one before,
Hmm.
and I'm still pretty new to, like, any kind of hard riding at all. So, my goal is just to make 1 checkpoint. If
Hmm.
I get to that checkpoint, I'm obviously gonna push and keep going, but
Hmm.
if I make 1 checkpoint and that's it, I will be the happiest person in the world.
Hmm.
But the fact that I'm doing it, like, when I'm there on the starting line, like, that's already a dream come true for me to, like, make it to that point when a lot of people told me I would never be able to do it because I'm so small.
Hmm.
And, like and because I'm a girl, like, girls don't do hard enduro and, like, all this dumb stuff, and it's just like I've pushed really hard and I'm the poster child for probably who shouldn't be doing hard enduro at all because don't have all of the skills that are required and, I know I'm gonna struggle and it's gonna be really, really hard, but
Hmm.
I don't care. I've gotta start somewhere. So
Embrace the
and
struggle.
yeah, exactly, and why not start now? So and I've done a couple or 1 hair scramble, I've done a couple enduros, I did this medium enduro, um, but that's all the racing I have under my belt, like, in
Mhm.
2 years, so,
Yeah,
like, it's
I was having a
quite a trip.
conversation with a kid who went to Oklahoma with me this past weekend.
Mhm,
It was really our first time hanging out, and he's like, "Oh," he was telling me, "I really hope to, maybe get a win this year, a couple podiums." And
mhm,
I said, I kind of looked at him because I'm kind of that guy who's like, shoot for the stars. And
mhm,
I tell him, who else is going to be training, like actually devoting their time to training this spring that you are racing against?
mhm,
And he says, nobody. And I was like, who do you think you're racing against that's in the gym constantly training for racing? He says,
mhm,
nobody. I was like, all right, who's riding with a purpose to improve and get to be next year that you're racing against this year? And he's like, probably nobody. I said, all right, and you are.
Mhm.
Why don't you think you're going to win every single race then?
Mhm.
And he's like, well, I was like, you got to change that mindset. You're doing stuff that they are not.
Mhm.
That's going to put you light years ahead. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of put a stamp on it, and he's like, it's going to be a good year. So
Yeah.
it'll be fun.
That's awesome. I love
Hmm.
that. That's so cool. And the thing for me personally is like there's not a lot of women who race hard
Hmm.
enduro. Um, so a lot of people keep telling me they're like, you could podium, you could podium. I'm like, all right, there's not a lot of women who do it, but the women who do it are badass.
Hmm.
Like, so I don't envision a podium. Um, but if it happens, oh my God, everyone in the world's gonna hear about it because
It's gonna be on Fox
like,
News or CNN.
oh, it'll be everywhere. Yeah.
There you go.
But I mean, I am putting in a lot of work, but I'm also starting from like below ground zero. I've had
Hmm.
to build up because I'm so new. Getting this bike, it really set me back because I couldn't touch the ground and I was too stubborn to lower it for the first year. So I've been
Hmm.
riding with it lowered for like 2 months now,
Hmm.
and it's made a huge difference. So makes a
You're on
difference
a
because I get stuck on rocks more, but um
yeah. Which what bike are you on? Husqvarna, right?
yep, T300, yeah.
300.
Mhm.
How you like that?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I rode a bunch of different bikes before I decided to buy this one, and, like, if anyone would let me try their bike, I would try it. But yeah, this was just the best one. Like, for me, I liked the throttle response on it, I liked the balance on it. It's heavier than, like, a lot of people were telling me to get the Beta Cross Trainer,
Hmm.
um, but I didn't like it. It felt really laggy and, um, I don't know, it's like I don't know, maybe it was just the couple that I rode, but they're almost, like, clunky. And even
Hmm.
though it's, like, a smaller bike and everyone was like, "Well, you're small, so you shouldn't be getting, like, a truly full-size bike." I was like, "I'm gonna get what I wanna get," and so I did, and everyone
I
was
think you
just
made a
like,
good decision.
yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it, and, I mean, I've had to figure a lot of things out, but I think it's really challenged me to focus on my form and
Hmm.
focus on my body positioning because that makes a huge, huge difference because I am so small on such a big bike. Even with it being lowered, I still have a hard time touching the ground. And, I still am a teeny tiny person on a full size bike. So my friend was telling me, he's like, dude, you've got to stand up when you're going up hills. And I was like, I am standing up actually.
Yeah.
I just don't look like it because my butt's like this high off of the seat. Like,
Hmm. It takes greater commitment when you're shorter to get through the obstacles.
yeah, and I've really had to learn how to move on the bike. As Jarvis calls it, like bike yoga. Like
Hmm.
that's really what it feels like. And I had a friend tell me, he's like, dude, it's crazy watching you ride. He's like, sometimes he's like, where I just put my foot down, you have to like be completely off the bike to do that. And I'm like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
it's really hard.
Yeah.
And for someone who comes like I didn't ever do sports and stuff growing up, so, like, I had no concept of balance. I was the most clumsy person, and, like, there was no athleticism to me, and so I've really had to overcome that, and I've spent a lot of extra time working on, like, static balance and lock bar turns and stuff like that to
Hmm.
compensate for that, because that's where I see my weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I still tell people about that all the time. Doing balance exercises, in the gym will help you,
Mhm.
on the bike as well. Those exercises don't have to be done on the bike for that
Yeah.
skill or that ability
Mhm.
to transfer. So,
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, doing it like in the gym and like doing it in different movements, like I'm trying to think of mobility
yep.
exercises. those are really important because, again, for somebody like me who's small, trying to get off the bike safely when I am crashing, which happens often, um,
Happens to all of
that's a
us.
bigger feat, you know? I have to jump off of the bike and, like, I had an epic dismount this weekend where, like, my friend caught it at the top of a hill, like, my bike just started going and I, like, jumped off and I, like, did a spin, but I stayed standing and I was like, "Okay, that was kinda cool looking." Like
Anybody have their camera out?
yeah, actually, we did get it on camera, so
There you go.
um but yeah, I've been trying to do that rather than falling, and I try to catch my bike, but I would rather let the bike fall than me fall. Um,
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to replace parts on bikes, even though it's ridiculously expensive. Um,
Mhm.
you know,
Medical
and
bills are more expensive.
exactly, exactly. So, getting into hard enduro has been a very costly thing. But it's like I
You
said, it for
probably
me.
picked the most expensive discipline to get into.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Bikes,
picked, like,
rims.
the most expensive bike, and then I decided to go beat it up, and now I'm paying expensive for super expensive parts and, like
Mhm.
but but I absolutely love it, and I will continue to do it. I'm super fortunate that I make enough money to be able to do it and to be able to afford all of this.
Yeah. As
So
long as you got that under control, you're good, and then just focus on having fun.
exactly. And that's the biggest thing is I am the happiest person in the world when I'm on my bike. I may be struggling. I thought I broke my toe this weekend on the trail and I was just like almost crying and I'd never cry for like injuries and stuff. And I was like I had told the guys behind me, I was like, "I need to sit down." Like, I legitimately cannot put pressure on my foot right now, like, I can't bear weight on it at all. I don't know how I'm gonna get down off of this mountain, but I was like, "I will figure it out," and then, like, 10 minutes later, we started going down, and even though my foot was, like, in so much pain, I was just like, "This is the coolest thing ever, like, look what I'm doing right now, like, this is gorgeous area, and, like, it's absolutely amazing." I was like, "I really hope my foot's not broken so I could keep riding tomorrow."
Yeah, I always thought about that when we went to Oklahoma, or not Oklahoma, Montana.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like you can get out into areas, and I'm sure snowmobilers feel the same way. But you get out into areas that you're never gonna hike to them. We're
Yeah,
30 miles from the road, or
yeah,
25 miles across this mountain range, and it's just like this has probably been untouched by everybody, but maybe a couple hunters or dirt bikers or snowmobilers or people on side
yeah.
by sides. They just take you places where most people don't go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a huge, huge thing that resonates with people in the off-road community is that you get that, like, freedom, right? Like, you get to do amazing things like, go those places, and
Mhm.
when I'm on top of a mountain or, I mean, the little baby mountains that I've been on so far, because 'cause I'm
Mhm.
still figuring out exposure, um, it's still, like, it's that you're on top of the world feeling, and
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything better. I think that's it gives me confidence, and it just makes me so ridiculously happy.
Mhm. It's cool.
Yeah. So, I always wanna, like, share that experience, and that's kind of what this podcast was born of, is sharing the experience and giving it to people who, giving inspiration rather to people who may not have seen it, may not have heard these stories before, and just kinda hopefully inspiring somebody in some way, shape, or
Mhm.
form, whether it's to try a different discipline, than what they're used to, or to get a dirt bike in general. We've had several people who listen to this podcast who were not dirt bikers who have gone out and purchased bikes now and have started getting into it. So I think
That's
it's
awesome.
super cool. Yeah.
I'm always trying to get people on dirt bikes. Um,
Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes to get somebody on a bike and help them with whatever I can.
Yeah. I do the
Love the sport.
same. Yeah, it's all about being supportive and like for me a big part of it is being super supportive to women because women don't always get the same opportunities that guys get to go on rides and things like that because a lot of the times we see ourselves as the slow ones and holding up the group and things like that. So, it's
Mhm.
harder to get seat time for a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women. And so finding supportive people is really important. And that goes for everybody though. Finding people who you can learn from and really that can push you if that's what you're into. If you want to be a racer, they can help you with, skills for that. I think that's super, super important. So,
Mhm. I remember when we were younger, my dad always tells the story real well, but we had a big, I don't want to call it camp. What's not your traditional camper, but it was like you could walk through the entire camper, and so we
mhm.
could load. There was one race. I think I had 5 or 6 buddies from school come with to race. And none of them have ever raced before. So
Wow.
we have a strong history of getting people to go racing that have never been racing. So
That's
he always enjoys telling that story about how we had so many kids with us, and we were able to organize all the minor releases for them to all race because their parents weren't with, and
mhm.
so
That's really cool. That's awesome that your dad was able to do that. That's something that a lot of people wouldn't do.
yeah. I don't think there was a single event that year that we didn't bring some somebody that isn't part of the racing community racing.
Yeah.
So we had full weekends of bringing people racing.
That's really amazing. I
Mhm.
love that. Oh,
Mhm.
I wish I could do something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to. I'm trying to bring people across the country to go race in North Carolina.
It's a lot easier in school. It's like, "Oh, you got a dirt bike? Why don't you come racing with us?" And then
Yeah.
as you're 12 years old, 13 years old, or 14, however old we were, be like, "All right, how are we gonna convince your parents to let you come with?"
Yeah.
So,
And now it's work. It's always, "Oh, I've gotta work," or "I can't get time off of work," and, ugh, we
mhm,
grew up. What happened?
that's right. We have
Um,
responsibilities now.
I know, it's kinda terrible. I mean, it's great, but it's also terrible. It
Mhm,
allows us to pay for the things that we wanna do, but then we have to work. So
that's right.
but, so how do people get started with you for training? Like, is that something, like, people can just enroll for, or
Yeah,
are you pretty
just reach out.
selective? Oh, okay.
Just reach out. With what we're doing now, uh, it's not so. I'll still do normal riding schools, let's say on the weekends before we start our training with our group each day.
Mhm,
But I mean, if you want to join the group, just reach out.
mhm,
I mean, I'm not going to be selective, but I'm going to let you know that it's not designed to come here and have fun. You're coming here
mhm,
to improve.
mhm.
Um, and then you'll have fun when you win races. So that's kind of the way I just let people know,
Yeah,
it's we're here to put in the work, and then you can have fun after.
yeah,
So as long as they understand that, that's kind of my only requirement.
cool. I get
Yep.
that, definitely.
A lot of
I
it
would def
a lot of it has to do with me having the people to train with.
mhm,
Because I went 5, 6 years of doing it by myself. You know,
mhm,
you go to the track and just do motos by yourself, and
mhm,
um, I don't want to say I got burned out, but I got burned out of doing it solo.
mhm,
Um, so this is kind of my way of to keep me training, keep me
mhm,
on that track, and so get
mhm.
other people there, and it pushes me and it pushes them, and
Yep.
so that was kind of the whole thought behind it.
Yeah, I like that. I think
Helps
it's really
everybody.
important to have that kind of community, whether it's people that you've known long term or people who show up for just one of those.
Hmm.
Um, I've got a group of guys now who they're all a lot better riders than I am, but
Hmm.
they're really patient and they're very supportive and they push hard and they encourage me to push hard. They encourage me to push through my comfort zone. And I encourage them too when we're out on the trail and they're like looking at something. I'm like, "You got this. Go do it." And they're like, "All right, cool." And then they go do it. And like,
Mhm.
so I we all just push each other, and I think that that's really important. Doesn't matter the discipline. If you have people who support you and push you, you're going to go so much further than if you're doing it alone. Cuz I do a lot of riding and a lot of training alone. And for the stuff that I'm doing, it's not so safe. 'Cause
Mhm.
I'm out in the mountain or, whatever. So I keep it to training versus pushing myself. I'm not trying to do new obstacles or anything like that when I'm by myself. I'm doing, like a small loop. I'm sessioning one part of a hill or something like that. Something that's pretty safe but still helping me improve.
Yep.
So,
Better play it safe
but
if you're out on the mountain by yourself.
yeah, exactly. So, and this isn't like a well-traveled area. So like if I go down and I'm stuck under my bike, it could potentially be days before somebody goes up there. So
Mhm.
it's like I carry a little GPS thing that's got an SOS on it so I can, if that happens, I can get help out to me, but um I always like to put that out there because I had someone freak out one time and they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're being so unsafe and you're promoting that." I'm like, I wouldn't tell anybody else to go and do that just, on a daily. Like there's
Yeah, you
a
don't do
there's a little girl that I'm helping. She's just learning how to ride and I'm kind of helping teach her the basics and stuff. And I told her, I was like, do not go off of the dirt roads. And I would prefer you not go out by yourself, but that's up to your mother. Like,
Mhm.
and her mom have established what she can and can't do by herself. And then when she goes out with me, she's kind of her mom is fine with me taking her on whatever, but I'm also going to tailor it to her skill level and what her bike can make it through. So
Mhm.
she's but it's cool though because helping somebody like that, I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm not good enough to coach. I'm not any of that, but I can help her get comfortable. I can help her get through things, as we're on
Yep.
the trail. So, and that's what I'm going to do is just, like you said, it's one more person. So,
You're getting her the exposure that she probably wouldn't have.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the amount of time that we're gonna be able to ride together, she and I think her mom are gonna be here for a few months, and so, I'm here and might as well. I'm gonna be going out anyway, so
Gives you somebody to ride with as well.
exactly. She may not be doing the same stuff, but at least she'll be exposed to it, and I told her, "You don't have to do the riding that I do. If we go out a few times and you don't like the stuff that I'm doing, that's not the only way to ride a dirt bike." I was like, "There's so many different ways to ride bikes and so many disciplines," and I was like, "Well, we can figure out what works for you, because
Mhm.
you might not like what I do." So,
That's right.
and and I think that that's really important too. Like, I'm not a big motocross person, but if she wants to go to a track, I'll help figure out, a track around here and get her out there and I'll go support her. Like,
Mhm.
I think support in general is the most important thing to keep people in the
Yep.
sport and like in off-road. So,
It is.
yeah, I love it. Well, if you could give a very quick word of advice to somebody who's new to dirt biking, what would be your best advice?
Oh, put me on the spot here. Let's see here. If you're gonna race and you have a goal,
Mhm.
uh, discipline goes a lot further than motivation. And if you're going out there to trail ride, have fun, um, I would just say go everywhere.
Yeah.
Enjoy the experience because not everybody gets to, not
Mhm.
everybody will ever have the opportunity to get a bike. They might not realize how cool it is. So, I mean, if you've made it to the point of getting a bike,
Mhm.
get out there and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I
I guess
love
that's
that.
kind of my answer on the spot.
No,
So,
that's great. I love it. Um, Awesome. Well, then in the last couple of minutes here, this is your time for any shout outs or thank yous that you want to give.
Oh, thank you to everybody who's ever supported me in my racing. Uh, my parents when I was younger, fine tune suspension. He's always been a massive help for many years.
Hmm.
This year we got Red River on board. We got Climb, Triumph. Um, yeah, those are kind of the big ones.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for taking time. I know this was kind of crazy to set up, but it worked out
Last
finally.
minute.
So,
It's all right.
yeah. Well, thank you, and I hope you have
Thank
a
you.
good one. I'll
Yep.
hit you up when I get back to Minnesota.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you.
All right. Bye.